You think you know how a city dies. You picture flames, screaming, a clean moment where everyone understands. But Pompeii dies in confusion. It dies in arguments over doorways. It dies in a bakery with a perfect loaf cooling for a dinner that never arrives. And it dies while people keep insisting, just for one more hour, that tomorrow still exists. Come closer. Put your hand on the wall. The plaster is warm. The air tastes like coins. The mountain is already counting down. The afternoon sun strikes the forum so hard it hurts your eyes. Marble throws light back like a weapon. Voices ricochet between columns, laws, gossip, bargains, insults. A politician stands on a step and wields his words like a blade, carving the crowd into supporters and enemies. A dog pulls against a rope, nails scraping stone, desperate for whatever smell lives beyond the humans. Pompeii breathes the way it always breathes, fish sauce sharp as a slap, bread crust sweet and smoky, crushed herbs underfoot, sweat in wool. Confidence is a scent here. Then the ground gives a small shrug. Not dramatic, not heroic, just the cobbles shifting under sandals. Heads lift with the same irritated reflex you use when someone interrupts your sentence. A few people laugh. Somebody mutters a curse at the mountain without even looking. This happens. This is life. The earth is noisy sometimes. I lock onto a pair of hands. Ink stains sit inside the cuticles like permanent bruises. The fingers move fast, practiced, receipt lines, quick notes, the petty mathematics of a working day. He is not a senator, not a gladiator, not a poet whose name survives. He is a local scribbler, a man who notices details for a living because details feed him. His wax tablet rides under one arm. A stylus rests behind his ear. He scans faces the way a pickpocket scans belts, habit, instinct, survival. Another tremor. Stronger. The dog stops pulling. It does not bark. It whines low, like it recognizes a voice nobody else hears. Then something stranger. Birds lift off all at once. Not a few startled pigeons. A whole frantic sweep, as if the sky itself rejects them. Wings batter the air. Feathers spin down. The scribbler's eyes flick upward. He squints at Vesuvius. A boom rolls down from the mountain, deep, slow, not like thunder, more like a door slamming in the belly of the earth. And the top of Vesuvius changes shape. It does not merely smoke. It deforms. It swells. A column rises, white at first, then bruised purple, then black, like a tree growing at impossible speed, branching as it climbs. The base thickens. The crown spreads. The sunlight dims as if a hand closes over a lamp. The air tastes metallic, like you bite a coin and keep it on your tongue. The forum splits into camps in the span of a breath. A young man points and laughs, a show, he shouts, grinning, because he wants the world to be entertainment. A woman clutches a charm at her throat and drops to her knees, lips moving fast, too fast. A vendor drags his stall closer to the center of the square, as if being surrounded by people is protection. A child climbs a step to see better, because children cannot imagine consequences that have never touched them. Some run to rooftops. They treat the sky like a festival. They shout to neighbors, calling names, pointing, throwing jokes like stones. Others push through the crowd toward temples, because when humans cannot control a thing, they reach for a god they can bargain with. And many, most, just pause, annoyed, waiting for the nuisance to pass. Here is the knife edge. The day itself feels slippery. Skin pricks with heat like summer, arms bare, sandals light. But somewhere else, someone pulls a heavier cloak tighter and swears the air feels wrong, cooler, like the year is already turning. You can argue the calendar until you choke on it. Late August in 79 AD? Or later, autumn fruit in bowls, thicker fabric on shoulders? Pompeii does not know. Vesuvius does not care. The only truth is what hits your skin. Pumice begins to fall. At first it feels like curious hail, light stones, popping against tiles. People tilt their palms up, catching pieces, laughing at the oddness. The scribbler catches one too. It is warm, porous, almost weightless. It looks harmless. He rubs it between finger and thumb. It leaves dust. Another piece hits his shoulder. Another. Then the rhythm tightens. Tap, tap, tap becomes a rattling. The mountain's column thickens, darkening from bruised ink. The sun turns sickly, a dim coin behind smoke. He makes a decision that feels small and becomes everything. He grips his wax tablet, checks the stylus behind his ear, and turns toward home, not toward the harbor, not toward the city gate, not toward the temple steps. Home. Because normal life has gravity. He moves into streets that begin to whiten, the first thin layer of pumice frosting the stones. He steps over it like over spilled grain. He still believes in sweeping. He still believes in tomorrow's chores. But the ground under his sandals begins to sound different, crunching, shifting, rolling. The city changes its texture. The hours stack fast now, not like a normal afternoon. Pumice rattles on roof tiles like hard rain, and the sound never stops. It gets inside your thoughts the way a dripping tap steals sleep. Every surface turns gray. Courtyards fill. Cloaks go up over heads, makeshift tents held by trembling hands. Cloth turns ash-colored in minutes, stiff with grit. He passes a bakery, and the warmth that usually spills into the street does not comfort him now, it feels trapped. Inside, ovens go cold. Flour hangs in the air, but not like soft powder. It clots, mixes with ash, becomes gritty mud that sticks to lips. A stamped loaf sits abandoned on a board. The baker's mark is pressed clean into the crust, proud and routine. Nobody reaches for it. The smell shifts, hot stone cooling too fast, wet ash, and then something sharper creeping in, sulfur, like burned eggs and struck flint. The mountain's breath changes the city's breath. Somewhere ahead, a roof beam creaks. The sound threads through the falling pumice. People freeze, listening. Then collapse. 2 streets away, it lands like a thunderclap. Dust billows up, thicker than the falling stones, and the screaming that follows is raw animal. A neighbor drags a child by the wrist. The child's sandals skid. Pumice rolls underfoot like marbles. The child falls hard, elbows scraping. The neighbor yanks again. No time for tenderness, only movement. What do you do when the sky becomes a quarry? Some people look up and make the first terrible calculation. If I stay outside, stones hit my skull. Therefore, I go indoors. But others look at the roofs and hear the creaks, and they make the opposite calculation. If I go indoors, the roof becomes my killer. Therefore, I stay in the street. Both instincts feel correct. Both instincts lead to graves depending on the next hour. The scribbler pushes through a narrow lane where ash and pumice bounce off walls. He keeps his tablet under his cloak as if it is a child. He sees a woman with blood in her hair from a stone that clips her scalp. She presses a cloth to it, eyes wide, and still she tells herself it is only a cut. People do this. We downgrade danger because terror is expensive. Breathing becomes a job. Ash is fine, too fine, and it hunts the gaps in cloth like water finds cracks in stone. People wrap tunics over their mouths. They tie scarves. They press sleeves to faces. But the ash scratches the throat. Every inhale feels like swallowing ground glass. Coughs spark out of the crowd, then keep coming, deeper, wetter. A man spits gray mucus into his palm and stares at it like it is an omen. The street level rises as pumice piles. Ankles disappear. Then shins. You do not walk so much as wade. The sound of footsteps becomes a constant crunch, the city chewing itself. The scribbler's shoulders hunch. He squints, eyelashes clotted with grit. He tries to keep to the middle of the road, away from roofs, but the road itself begins to vanish under the growing drift. Landmarks shrink, the base of a statue, the bottom of a doorway, a familiar step. Pompeii becomes unfamiliar 1 inch at a time. Inside some houses, a different story plays. Families choose to wait it out indoors. The logic sounds tender. Walls protect us. Roofs shelter us. We stay together. Therefore we endure. Doors are barred. Lamps are lit. Oil smoke mixes with ash that sneaks in anyway, turning the air thick and oily. Adults speak too brightly to children, telling stories like it is a holiday night, like the year turns and everything resets. Someone promises sweet cakes tomorrow. Someone jokes about sweeping the courtyard when this silly fall ends. But outside, the street level rises, pressing against door frames. Ash packs into seams. The house becomes a sealed box, and what you call protection can also become a lid. Others run for the harbor. You can feel their hope like heat in their bodies. Ships mean distance. Ships mean control, wind, rope, a captain who understands weather. Therefore, ships mean survival. But when they reach the shoreline, the sea refuses to play its role. Boats knock against each other in chaos. Water pulls back strangely, exposing slick stones and dead fish flapping like accusations. Pumice floats on the surface like a pale carpet you cannot step on. The air near the sea stinks of rotten eggs and smoke, a chemical warning that feels ancient in the throat. People scream for captains who are already gone, or who refuse to launch into a choking darkness. The scribbler hears it all as fragments, shouted directions, prayers, curses. The north road is blocked, someone coughs. No, it is clear, another insists, because certainty feels like oxygen. A neighbor claims the fall eases. Another points at a roof that just vanishes under the growing weight. No one holds the full map. Everyone carries a piece of terror like a torch, and the torches do not align. Across the bay, another human makes another decision, far from these streets, but tied to them by the same column of ash. At Misenum, Pliny the Elder stands in the sharp salt air, a fleet commander with a scholar's hunger. He sees the column and his first instinct is curiosity, the collector's itch. His mind reaches for categories, for measurements, for the satisfaction of naming the shape of a thing. But then a message reaches him, pleas for help, names of towns, voices cracking with urgency. Duty hits him second, like a fist to the ribs. He turns, orders ships readied. Sandals slap on stone as men run. Ropes hiss through hands. Sails flap like nervous birds. In his household, eyes watch him choose. Does he go to observe? Does he go to rescue? He chooses both. He tells himself he can be two men at once, the scientist of catastrophe and the savior of strangers. That is how men die in disasters, trying to be complete when the world allows only one task, survive. Back in Pompeii, night arrives early. Not the gentle dimming of evening, an abrupt smothering. The ash cloud swallows color. Lamps bloom in windows, tiny orange planets trapped in gray. The sound of falling pumice keeps its relentless percussion, and now it feels like a countdown you cannot stop. People count time by collapses, by prayers, by how many breaths their cloth mask still allows before it is too clogged to use. Somewhere, someone still tries to finish a sentence on a wall. You can almost hear the stylus scratching plaster, stubborn and intimate. Not grand last words, just the human need to mark presence. I am here. I exist. You will know. The scribbler, with his ink-stained hands, understands that urge too well. He keeps his tablet close as if writing can anchor him to reality. He does not know the mountain is about to change the rules entirely. The sound changes. That is the warning nobody understands. The constant rattle of pumice is joined by a deeper roar, like a furnace door opening, like a beast inhaling. The ground vibrates. Not a single jolt, an ongoing shudder, as if the world grinds its teeth. When the sound changes, the disaster changes. Pre-dawn comes, but the darkness feels physical, like cloth pressed over the face. Ash sticks to sweat. Hair turns gritty. Lips crack. The tongue tastes like stone. People step outside and hold their hands out, not to catch pumice now, but to feel direction, like blind men in their own streets. A hot wind slams through an alley, and it is not wind. It is the front edge of a pyroclastic surge, ash and gas moving faster than a sprinting man, hotter than any oven in Pompeii. It behaves like liquid, hugging the ground, pouring through passageways, vaulting walls. It does not look like fire. It looks like night sprinting at you. Here the city's logic breaks. Every instinct has an equal and opposite death. Some run uphill because height feels like safety, but the surge climbs. Some run downhill because distance feels like safety, but the surge races. Some crouch in doorways because stone feels like protection, but the surge pours through cracks like water through fingers. The scribbler turns his head, trying to locate the roar, but sound has no clean direction in this choking dark. He takes a step and his foot sinks into pumice up to the ankle. He yanks free, stumbles, catches himself on a wall. His palm comes away gray, gritty, the city turning to powder under his touch. He thinks, I need a plan. But the mountain does not negotiate with plans. Inside a house nearby, a family presses into a back room. The father jams cloth under the door crack with shaking fingers. The mother counts children by touch in the dark, one shoulder, one head, one small hand. The smallest one whispers for water. There is no water. There is only the sound outside, something moving too fast to be human. The decisive minute arrives the way a blade arrives, silent until it is already cutting. The surge hits. Heat punches through gaps. Air becomes unbreathable, not because oxygen vanishes, but because what arrives is too hot and too full of ash. Lungs seize. Eyes clamp shut. A candle goes out with a small sigh. The room becomes a tomb while the people are still standing. Outside, bodies drop where choices end. A man reaches for a doorway and folds before his fingers touch stone. A woman clutches a bundle to her chest, maybe a child, maybe blankets, and the bundle becomes her final shape. In courtyards, people huddle together, community to the last second, because loneliness is a second kind of death. On a road that promises escape, someone lies alone, one wrong turn, one final private decision. Now watch the conflict inside the catastrophe, because even here, the story refuses to become simple. One perspective insists the great killer is the falling pumice, the slow, crushing weight that makes roofs fail, that traps people, that turns streets into pits. You can hear that argument in every creak, in every collapse, in every groan of timber giving up. If you die early in the night, pinned under beams, this is your truth. But another perspective, colder, faster, insists the surges decide everything. Not weight, but heat and speed. Not a slow burial, but a racing cloud that turns breath into ash. If you survive the long night only to meet the surge at dawn, this is your truth. The city holds both truths at once, and the order depends on where you stand, what shelter you choose, what minute you gamble on. And still the uncertainty gnaws. How many surges come? In what exact sequence? The people cannot count. They only feel the rhythm, roar, rush, silence, then another roar, closer. Each one erases more of the map. By the final surge, Pompeii is not a place, it is a mold being filled. Across the bay, Pliny's thread tightens into tragedy. He reaches Stabii. Ashfall thickens. The shore is chaos, men shouting, horses panicking, eyes streaming. Waves fight the boats, refusing easy departure. Pliny tries to calm others, to keep order, to read the disaster like a text he can master. He speaks with authority, because authority is his armor. But his body betrays him. Breath fails. Throat closes. He collapses in the cinders, and for a moment the most powerful man on that beach is just another choking animal. The rescuer becomes a victim. The bay learns the same lesson Pompeii learns. Rank does not bargain with a volcano. Knowledge does not grant immunity. When morning comes, it does not feel like morning. The sun is a rumor behind a gray ceiling. Light filters down weakly, the color drained from it. The street is gone buried. Doorways are half swallowed. Statues choke to the chin. Pompeii stands frozen mid-breath. No merchants. No sandals on stone. No shouting. Just ash settling, like the last grains in an hourglass slipping into place. This is where the cost gets counted, not in numbers but in shapes. Bodies lie at thresholds, as if the last act is to reach for an exit. Bodies lie in courtyards, where people choose each other over distance. Bodies lie on roads that promise escape, arms lifted, faces turned the wrong way, caught in the exact posture of decision. These are not just remains. These are arguments made flesh. Every pose says, I believe this will work. The scribbler, if he survives the night at all, does not survive as himself. If he falls in the street, ash covers him gently at first, then deeper, then total. If he reaches a doorway, the doorway becomes a frame for his final outline. If he hides indoors, the room holds him like a secret. In every version, the mountain takes his ink-stained hands and turns them into evidence. And evidence is everywhere. Graffiti freezes mid-thought. A joke, a threat, a love note, sentences trapped in plaster like insects in amber. Wax tablets wait with words that never deliver. Bread hardens in ovens, stamped with a baker's mark that assumes a customer will arrive. These are not relics. They are receipts from the final hours, proof of routine standing too close to catastrophe. But even here, the perspectives keep fighting because humans refuse to let disaster have the last word. One voice says Pompeii is a warning about complacency. People see signs and shrug, therefore they die. Another voice says Pompeii is a story about impossible information. The signals contradict, therefore any choice feels rational until it kills you. A third voice, quiet, stubborn, says Pompeii is not about failure at all. It says, people do what people always do. They grab children. They grab food. They grab documents. They look for neighbors. They look for gods. They try to make meaning inside noise. Which voice is true? The ash refuses to answer in one sentence. It preserves them all. Now I hold up one small, brutal detail, because small details are where the truth bites hardest. The last human act in a collapsing world is still human. To speak, to write, to touch a wall, to reach for a door, to hope the countdown stops. The volcano does not just kill, it records. Ash becomes an archive so precise it preserves fingerprints, food, jokes, the shape of fear itself. Pompeii is not only a death, it is a memory that never stops being recovered. Modern mirror, we like to believe disasters announce themselves clearly. They do not. They arrive with mixed signals, a cough that might be nothing, a tremor that feels familiar, a sky that looks dramatic instead of deadly. We look at danger through the lens of normal life because normal life is the only lens we own until it shatters. Verdict: when the world begins to end, the most expensive thing you can buy is time, and the easiest way to go bankrupt is delay. The countdown does not need your belief to reach zero. Join the investigation. If you want more recovered case files like this, evidence first, human first, subscribe, because every episode adds another artifact to our shared archive, another pattern you can recognize before the next emergency writes over it. And when this video ends, click the next one on the end screen. Stay in the timeline with me, because the clues compound when you keep moving. Legacy question: you stand in Pompeii with 1 minute left and no clear signal. Do you spend that minute warning strangers who may not listen, or do you spend it dragging your own people toward the dark?